Shalom, family. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Thank you, G. Bowman Jr., for the 20-month membership. I deeply appreciate it. All right, we're going to talk about another color change of Three Eye Atlas that occurred a few days ago. I mean, just before it's supposed to do its pass by of Earth. And people are doing all kinds of videos talking about, some of the strange things they're noticing. I'm starting not to pay attention to many of those videos because one thing, a lot of them are AI, and a lot of these people, a lot of it is clickbait. So I did see some of the ones on color changes, and I do believe those because that has happened several times since July when they spotted it in the sky. It has changed colors multiple times, so that part I do believe. But some of the other stuff they're saying, I don't necessarily believe all of it. So we're going to take a look at some of this stuff. Now, if they don't change it, it's supposed to be 11 tonight on space.com. Now, I realize the weather is not clear. I know it isn't in my area, but I know they are live streaming in multiple places. So even if it's not clear here, there's probably other live streams you could catch tonight to see if you can see this pass by. So, anyway, y'all, I am going to share my screen. Shalom to. Oh, I do have some good news. My jars came today for my edge growth butter. But here's the thing, I opened the box and some of the jars are damaged. And maybe that's why it didn't come right away. But some of my jars are damaged, but some are not. So I just have to contact the place that I get my jars from just to let them know I need replacements. But they finally came. I cannot believe it. So I can't really do much now because it's getting close to the Shabbat. But after Sabbath, I will begin filling the jars with the edge cream, I'm sorry, the edge growth butter that I made, and I'll get those listed. So you can still get it for 30% off before the 24th. So it may not be that many days left, but you'll still be able to get it at a discount before the 24th. So that is good news. It took long enough to get here. I tell you that. It took long enough to get here. Man, I don't think I've ever waited this long to get any jars. All right, y'all. Let me share my screen so we can get started. Please give me a one if you can see my screen. Thank you.
Bruh, Three Eye Atlas is glowing gold. Comets don't do that shit. Huh. First shall be last and the last shall be first. Give us our motherfucking shit. Black Americans, the real indigenous American Indians, the real American Indians, the real JEWSs. It's glowing gold. Right? And I'll say this. A lot of videos on 3i Atlas are AI generated. Be careful with those videos. You got to know who to, like, you got to know, like, Stephen Burns, like, his content on 3i Atlas is official. Ray's astronomy, his content is official on 3i Atlas. You know what I'm saying? So don't be, you know what I'm saying? People think that like we just getting our information. Nah, bro. Nah, 3i Atlas is glowing gold. Y'all think the shit is glowing gold. Give us our motherfucking shit, man. We are tired of just getting by. We are tired of this fucking existence that's constantly oppressing and been oppressive to God's chosen people. We took out the Black Americans. We took our punishment like a G times up. Run us our shit. I told you these motherfuckers was never gonna give us reparations, but I've been telling people, you know what? Our reparations is gonna be the whole fucking earth. Now what? Now what? Also, too, people think there's gonna be an exodus bro. The exodus was spiritual. It was spiritual. It was spiritual. The exodus. Look, it was 144 when I said that. The exodus was spiritual. We are in the spiritual wilderness right now. Okay? Trust me on that. Okay? We're not going nowhere. I'm telling how the Most High is gonna do this shit. You're gonna be like, damn, that was it. That shit wasn't bad at all. I'm telling you. All praise to the Most High.
So yesterday in my video about 3i Atlas, I noted that it had just turned golden in color as it approaches Earth. It's going to be at its closest tomorrow, December 19th. And the golden color is significant because that is the final color in an ancient Egyptian initiation sequence. So when we first observed 3i Atlas in July, it was red color. And the colors have been in this sequence: red, then blue, then green, and now gold, as it first went by Mars and then past the sun and now approaching Earth. And that sequence lines up with this Egyptian initiation or alchemical sequence, red representing the Osiris descent into matter when Osiris died, and then Horus, blue, representing the sky and the return of intelligence. And then green is sort of the return of life and the integration of consciousness back into the living field of Earth. And then moving into gold. Now it's gold, and that's Ra, that's the sun god. But that's also the Homo luminous, the light holding into matter form, which is where we are now. So it's really interesting that color sequence seemed to have been programmed in to the path of 3i Atlas. So I'm curious what other interesting patterns you guys have noticed with 3i Atlas.
Over the past few days, astronomers around the world have started noticing something strange about interstellar object 3i Atlas. Its color is changing again, not subtly, not gradually, over months, but visibly, frame by frame, observation by observation. What was once green is now shifting toward gold, and that is not something you see often. In fact, gold-colored comets are extremely rare. Gold-colored interstellar objects are almost unheard of. This immediately raised eyebrows because we've seen something like this before, very recently. Comet C2025 K1 Atlas, a completely separate object in our own solar system, underwent a similar transformation about 6 weeks ago as it moved into the constellation Leo. Its coma shifted from green into a distinctly golden hue. Shortly after that transition completed, the comet began to fragment. It didn't just fade, it physically started breaking apart, which brings us to the obvious question no one wants to jump to too fast, but everyone is thinking anyway. Is 3i Atlas undergoing a similar chemical evolution right now? And if so, does this gold shift mean it could begin to fragment as it continues its journey toward Jupiter? To understand why this matters, you have to look at the full color history of 3i Atlas, not just what it looks like today. When this object was first detected back in early July, it didn't look green at all. Early optical imagery shows it as yellowish to red, with a very dark, dust-dominated coma in red optical bands. It was especially bright. Infrared observations also showed strong emission, indicating that it was already active the moment we found it. That alone was unusual. Most comets need time to heat up. 3i Atlas did not. It arrived active, which strongly suggests it only had a very thin insulating crust. Once it entered the inner solar system, it woke up immediately. For weeks, even as activity increased, its color remained stable. Red, very red. That red color is important because it points to complex organic material coating the dust grains. This is the kind of coloration we associate with trans-Neptunian objects and very old, heavily processed bodies. It suggests that 3i Atlas didn't form recently. It suggests a long, violent thermal history around its original host star. Then something changed. As it crossed roughly 2.5 astronomical units from the sun, right around the region where water ice becomes far more active. The chemistry of the coma shifted. Suddenly, observers began seeing green emission. This is classic CN and C2 emission, often seen when fresh volatile material is being released. But with 3I Atlas, the green phase was unusually intense and, at times, even pushed toward blue. That alone already set it apart from the previous interstellar visitors. Oumuamua never showed this kind of gas-driven coma. Borisov behaved more like a normal comet. 3I Atlas did neither cleanly. Then,
You guys, this is not a drill. This is so amazing. Watch this video. Your mind is going to blow. It's going to blow right off. Okay, here we go. Okay, sorry, I got excited really quick. Check out Luke 21:11. There will be great earthquakes and in various places famines and pestilence, and there will be terrors and great signs from heaven. Okay, this is when Jesus was telling the disciples what to expect at the end of the age. Now, remember before you watch this video that Jesus is the Lion of Judah. Anytime you hear about any celestial event happening in the sign of Leo, you can know that there's some reference in there to him. Leo is Latin for lion. Okay, now watch. Why? Oh my gosh. And the color. Okay, I'll stop talking. Here we go.
Hey everyone, geophysicist Stefan Burns here. New observations of interstellar object 3I Atlas over the past few days from astronomers around the world have shown that shifting from a green color to a gold color, and this is very unusual. You don't often see gold colored comets, or in this case, an interstellar object. We do have C2025 K1 Atlas right now in our solar system, which about 6 weeks ago shifted to a golden hue as it moved into the constellation of Leo. That is quite interesting. And shortly after that occurred, it actually started to fragment apart. So is this indicative of a new chemical change and evolution of 3I Atlas occurring right now? And maybe is it going to break apart in the near future as it continues to head towards Jupiter? That's a good question, but now it's glowing gold, as it also will move into the constellation of Leo over the next few weeks and into 2026 as it approaches the planet of kings and royalty, Jupiter.
On December 16th, 3 Atlas is glowing with a clearly defined golden hue, while the countdown to its closest approach to Earth is still underway. Throughout the observation period, 3 Atlas has exhibited a sequence of unusual color changes, shifting from red to green, and then returning to a golden tone accompanied by chemical signatures that challenge familiar comet models, including the dominance of carbon dioxide, the early appearance of nickel while iron is absent, and a prolonged green glow that is more plausibly explained by thermal lag rather than distance from the sun. Alongside this, 3 Atlas shows steady mass loss and the persistent presence of an anti-tail, a phenomenon that may be linked to fragments that have detached from the nucleus, especially as theoretical calculations align in a striking way with images observed by the Hubble Space Telescope. These characteristics reinforce the view that 3 Atlas operates according to a complex internal logic, rather than simply following rules based on distance or instantaneous solar irradiation. Rather than leading to a single conclusion, 3 Atlas exposes the limits of current theoretical frameworks and leaves behind a state of structured uncertainty. A quiet reminder that rare interstellar visitors can expand scientific understanding not through dramatic events, but through data that refuses to fit neatly into established expectations. And these are the things we will explore together next. In recent days, astronomers around the world have noticed something quietly unsettling about 3I Atlas. 3I Atlas is no longer glowing with the familiar green light expected from an active comet. Instead, 3I Atlas has begun to take on a muted metallic gold tone that does not fit comfortably within standard comet behavior. Gold-colored comets are rare, and gold-colored interstellar objects are rarer still. 3I Atlas is shifting away from gas-dominated emission and toward a color often associated with dust-rich comet. For 3I Atlas, this change is not dramatic or explosive, but slow, persistent, and difficult to ignore. In cometary science, color is not decoration. Color is chemistry rendered visible. When 3I Atlas glows green, it usually signals the presence of carbon-based gases excited by sunlight. When 3I Atlas fades toward gold, it often suggests that gas production is declining, while solid dust begins to dominate the surrounding cloud. This transition raises a quiet but serious question. Is 3 Atlas entering a late evolutionary phase similar to other objects that fragmented shortly after turning gold? In past cases, a shift toward gold has preceded structural weakening, surface collapse, or fragmentation events.
New observations of 3 Atlas over the past few days show something unexpected. It's shifting from green to gold. This isn't common for comets or interstellar objects. The color change is appearing independently across multiple observers using different equipment, which means it's real. Interestingly, we saw something similar recently with C2225 K1 Atlas, which turned gold about 6 weeks ago before starting to fragment. So the question is, does this color shift indicate a chemical change in 3I Atlas? And could it signal the object is approaching breakup? Let's look at what the data actually shows. When 3I Atlas was first detected on July 1st, it wasn't glowing green. It appeared more yellow in optical bands and showed a strong red signature in infrared. That red color dominated through September, indicating a dust-rich coma with organic compounds that give objects a reddish tint similar to trans-Neptunian objects. Around late September, the color shifted to green as the object crossed approximately 2.5 AU from the Sun, the distance where water ice becomes more active. Green emission comes from diatomic carbon and cyanogen molecules that fuse when excited by solar ultraviolet light. This persisted through perihelion and into November. Now in mid-December, multiple independent observers are documenting a shift toward gold. Images from Alberto Quano-Vodniza on December 10th, Tony Scarato on December 14th, and Gemini North on November 26th all show this transition. The green is fading, replaced by a warmer golden hue. That suggests the molecular emission that created the green color is decreasing while dust scattering, which produces more neutral or golden tones, is becoming dominant. Again, one of 3I Atlas's most unusual characteristics is strong nickel emission detected spectroscopically without corresponding iron emission. This is rare. Most objects that show metal emissions display both nickel and iron together since they're chemically similar and
Hey friends, let's have another 3I Atlas update. So today is December 16th. That means in just 3 days, it will be at its closest position to Earth as it's passing through our solar system. That's pretty exciting. So if you have your own telescope, you would even be able to observe it, assuming the weather is good, on the morning of December 19th. Now, December 19th is also a new moon, which is energetically significant. And let's see, what else is exciting? It just turned golden in color. That means it's now been 4 different colors. First, it was red, then blue, then green, and now most recently, golden. So that's pretty fascinating that the imaging is changing color. And if you'll recall in one of my earlier videos, I said, what should we look out for if we're going to try to gain evidence that this is somehow a consciously operated craft or a conscious entity of itself? And there would be some form of communication or non-gravitational directional change. Well, we have both. We have non-gravitational direction change, which happened a few weeks ago with jets coming off in different directions. But just recently, Japan has detected and published their findings that there are X-ray patterned transmissions coming off of the object 3I Atlas. So that's very intriguing. And lastly, the betting markets are indicating, so people can bet on anything these days, and people are placing bets, and the odds are nearly 100% that the president and the government is going to release what they know about ETs in the next few days, all coinciding with this closest path to Earth. So let's see what happens, and stay tuned for December 19th. What do you think is going to happen, by the way? Are we going to get to find out whether there's ETs, or are we going to have to wait a little bit longer?
All right, y'all. You know, the funny part is I needed a new pair of slippers, right? I've had the same pair for like 2 years. I had been wearing a purple pair. Do you know I just bought a gold pair of slippers? They got like lambskin on them, and the inside is lambskin, but the outside is like this cloth made of it's like a gold color. And then this comet is gold, and it's just so strange, but you know, aren't we the most high silver and gold? We are. Yep. I mean, we seen this thing go from when it's been blue, it was red, it was green. It went through all of these different color transitions, and now it is gold. And the thing is, like they said, that this right here tells you it's not a comet. It would never go through all of these color transitions if it was just a comet. There's no way this thing is a comet. But they're still trying to call it a comet. They're still trying to call it that. There's no way. This thing ain't no comet, and they know it. That's why they're worried about the 19th. They're worried about this pass by. It is something about it that scares them. So, y'all, whether we will see it or not on live, I don't know. But I'm going to sit up for a while because, I rarely go to sleep early. I'm going to sit up for a while and see if I can catch anything. If I can, wonderful. If I can't, hey, it is what it is. So I still got the link in my community tab for those of you that are looking for a live stream, space.com. They published their link, and I did grab it and I put it in the community tab. But there are many other live streams that will be happening tonight as well. So, well, maybe we'll get a glimpse of it. Maybe we won't, Nevertheless, it is always something special, especially our Heavenly Father coming back for his children. And this is the Shabbat when he's going to do his pass by. That is priceless, y'all. That is priceless. That is priceless. Okay, he's going to pass by on the Shabbat, and we don't know if he's going to pass by. They could, they're saying pass by. It may not be a pass by at all. He could stop altogether. It doesn't mean pass by just because these folks say it is. They said a lot of things that did not come to pass. Now, remember, it was going to go behind the sun, and if it was a comet, it was going to break apart. It didn't break apart. It didn't break apart at all. And they have been admitting it has not been behaving like a comet. So almost anything can happen. And we don't know the time or the date. I mean, just because it's passing by today, it doesn't mean anything's going to happen today. We don't know when, but we know he will return for his children. We do know that. So, y'all, let me see here. G. Bowman Jr., you wrote The Colbrain, introduces us to the colorful, kaleidoscopic angel known as the Destroyer, who answers only to the Creator. Seems to me, Three-Eye Atlas fits the description. Yeah, See, me, I think it's the chariot. I really do. The chariot that's spoken about in the Bible. And, these folks are Gentiles. So, of course, they're not going to call it the appropriate thing. That's why they're calling it Three-Eye Atlas, But But we know how the Bible speaks of the chariots coming back. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Thank you so much for being here. I got one more live coming up at 5:45. There is a breaking story that now the Haitians have gotten caught up in a scam, a SNAP, EBT scam. And the amount, $7 million, they scammed SNAP benefits out of $7 million. So we'll be talking about that at 5:45. You know, it's amazing how these foreigners come here and talk down on us. You know, one thing about us, we never ran to anybody else's country just to commit scams and commit crimes. But these folks, they did, you know, and it's no telling how long we got blamed for things that we didn't do. And it was really a lot of these foreigners here committing different various crimes, and we got blamed for it. But I'm glad now a lot of it is coming out, and we're finding out exactly what's going on within these community of immigrants. And they're not just getting up and working hard like they want us to believe. Yeah, you're working hard at committing crimes and scams. So is that the only reason why y'all come to America, is to commit crimes and scams and cheat the system here? Is that the only reason why you're here? Because, you know, for years, I don't know about y'all, but for years, I had heard about the Jamaicans committing all kinds of IRS frauds. They would file all kinds of tax returns for people that didn't exist. And what they would do, they would come around tax season, file all these tax returns, fraudulent ones. And when they got the money, they would fly out of here and go back to Jamaica. And they were doing that for many years. I don't know if they still do it or they can't do it anymore, but they were doing that mess for many years. And it was the Jamaicans doing that heavily. And they couldn't catch them because they would always, by the time they realized it was a scam, they were gone. They would get on board planes and be out of here. So now we'll get into the Haitians and the $7 million they have stolen through SNAP benefits. So much for all that working hard. So y'all, I will see you at 5:45. Shalom, family.